Hello, my name is Matthias Cavodi. I'd like to welcome you guys to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the end of the first Deadpool series way back in 2002. So we're going to cover Deadpool issues 62 to 69. Oh, I just realized that number. Wow, how proper with Deadpool. 269. And how they just did a real bad job ending the series. And this has the big lead up into the Agent X series that I thought it was pretty terrible. I'm going to do a video about that because I really don't like Gail Simone's writing. The first story arc is with Frank Tieri and art by Jim Calafiore. It's a pretty good story. Class, like the quintessential Deadpool villain T-Ray is in that story. And after that, we have Gail Simone from 65 to 69, and I didn't like it at all. There's just one plot and a couple of ideas here and there that I do enjoy. And Udon Studios art, it looked really awesome back then, super modern, and it hasn't aged well. That's all I can say. It just feels really dated. So without further ado, let's get into this first story arc. Deadpool comes back from the dead, being super redundant. He had been killed by Weapon X, and it's more specifically by Sabretooth. But the thing is, T-Ray brings Deadpool back from the dead because, like, this is actually a pretty good story, and it sort of really establishes the relationship between Deadpool and Thanos, because Death is in love with Deadpool, so Thanos doesn't want Deadpool to die and enter her realm. So he wants to make sure Deadpool stays alive and makes T-Ray bring him back from the dead. He's going to give him like this weapon that is going to help him ruin Wade's life. So what we get in these first couple of issues is the original recipe. Wade Wilson, he's like sort of amnesiac, hanging out with a bunch of bums. He doesn't understand what's going on, who he is, and stuff like that. While we get all these other versions of Deadpool running around the city. We get like a superhero Deadpool, then a super assassin Deadpool causing trouble. Then we have like the crazy, quirky, stupid Deadpool running around doing stuff. Then we have like this really smart one that's making inventions, and so on and so forth. So what happens in this story, we're going to skip all of this. Deadpool is able to meet up with all these other versions, try to find out what the hell is going on. And we discover that T-Ray is the one behind this whole situation. And he's using this magical thing that he's pulling certain aspects of Deadpool's identity out of him and creating these other versions of Wade. But by doing this, he's losing those parts of his personality. So like the superhero aspect of him is gone, the senseless murderer too, the super stupid Deadpool. And in a way, it's sort of like telling you what is to come with Deadpool, because they're taking away all the most interesting aspects of him and what's going to happen with this series. Because I'm getting ahead of myself, but like Gail Simone's Deadpool is I just don't like him, the way he's characterized. But we got to focus here. So obviously Deadpool is going to be able to outsmart and really make things miserable for T-Ray. And what he does at the end is actually break that cosmic device, and all these different personalities of Deadpool end up going back into T-Ray and just breaking his mind. But it's established that Wade Wilson is actually the real Wade Wilson, because there was a whole story arc really with the introduction of T-Ray, that T-Ray was actually the real Wade Wilson, and that Deadpool had stolen his identity. No, it was just a big ruse. They sort of retconned that with this particular story. T-Ray's mind is gone. Deadpool defeats his classic enemy. Thanos is happy because he didn't want Deadpool to enter the realm of the dead, so he can get access to his love of his life, which is Death, which Death is in love with Wade. And that's always a fun story that they're going to revisit after this. So we start with Gail Simone's time on the series. And here's the Udon Studios art. Like, aesthetically, it looks really good. We get the introduction of this villain called the Black Swan that has interesting powers, and his motivations are weird. That he's like this gentleman, very snob and high society type of guy, and takes assassinating people as an art form, while Wade just doesn't really, doesn't show the proper respect for their line of work. So this really pisses off Black Swan. We get the introduction of the character of Outlaw, that she's going to keep popping up within the Deadpool lore and series in general. She's going to be a mainstay in that side of the Marvel Universe. And basically in the story, Deadpool becomes formally a mercenary again. He's contracted people to get him jobs. And outside of that, like, the dialogues are just not interesting. Deadpool, like, there's a lot of Deadpool craziness and stupid and wackiness in these stories, but he's just not funny. He just loses his charm and he gets really tedious. I do like this story with... The only story that I do like is this story arc with the Rhino, where he has to cut off Rhino's horn. That's a job he gets from this really old guy, so they can make Viagra with his horn. It's really off the wall. And so Deadpool has to deal with Rhino, and at the end of the story, he uses Pym particles to shrink Rhino down. He turns Rhino into a keychain. So the whole relationship between Deadpool and Keychain Rhino is that's fantastic. I did really like this. The one with Dazzler, it's okay. He becomes Dazzler's bodyguard. It sort of works. It's so basic, but the way Wade deals with minching Rhino, he flushes him down the toilet. It's really good. We get Taskmaster in another story. We learn more about how evil the Black Swan is, and that he'll help him take Black Swan down. But outside of that, like, the stories are just not interesting. Then we get the final showdown between, like, I'm blasting through the pages because it doesn't happen very often when I'm reading a story and I start skipping pages. I lose patience with it. Well, that happened with the end of the series and Gail Simone's writing. I just didn't like it. Deadpool at the end goes to a final showdown with Black Swan, and his building just blows up. He tries to absorb Deadpool's mind or mind link with him. He just goes crazy with all of Deadpool's madness. He does have cool powers, like he programs mind viruses in people, but he's never seen again. Maybe under another writer, he could have become like a really, really awesome X-Men villain in general. Now, he does have the potential. And everything blows up, and we have the basis for the Agent X series that fucking sucked. So I'm going to do that video another day. See you guys next time. Bye.